Okay, guys, we're going to get the ball rolling here now. So first of all, you're very welcome here to the second in our series, our Zurich series of the June webinar series. Okay, this webinar a little bit different to the other ones we've been providing. Different because most information is going to come from yourselves today, and we're kind of just creating a workshop or an environment where we can all evaluate and reflect on us and our players, and going forward and planning accordingly. The central ideas around this is not to make the job of a coach any harder or anything like that. It's very much we feel that through proper planning, it actually makes your job easier. Okay, so as I said earlier, guys, you can grab a pen and a paper. We'll be writing a few notes throughout, and we'll be calling on a few people and whatnot as well. So I have a pen and paper handy. And just to start with, guys, just to see what we have in the room, I'll ask you all to just find the text box. So if you scroll in front of the screen there, you'll see a speech bubble. If you want to click on that, and I'm going to ask everyone else, put in the age group you coach with at the minute. So if you want to get a gauge of what coaches we have in the room and how we can target the session as we go through. So they're coming through there now. That's Niall McCauley under 9s, Kilrush under 17s, under 11s, 10s, adult men 9s, good stuff, 12s, adult camogie, excellent, 16 minor, 12s, 11 7s, minor, under 10, under 17. A good variance there, Seamus, isn't there? There's a bit of everything. So and I think that the PowerPoint is set up as such that we will cater for both the junior players or the children, the teens and the adults as we go out through. So that's great stuff. So we've a good variance there now as well, and hopefully it will help with the discussion as we go forward. Do you want to move it on there, Dara, to the next slide? So guys, this is just kind of the running order for tonight, okay? And I suppose before we go any further, I'd like to introduce my two helpers for tonight, two beautiful assistants there. So Seamus, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, it's how you doing, folks? Seamus Byrne here. Delighted to give James a hand here in presenting this, the evaluating and planning webinar. With all the talk, I suppose, at the moment they're getting back to the pitch now on the 29th. Even rumours circulating around might be a little bit earlier with a bit of look at Will. Absolutely perfect time for this webinar, to be honest with you, to get down, evaluate your players and put a plan in to get ready. So all I'll ask you to do is, and it's great to see already people texting in there to give us an idea of what sort of coaches is in the room. Just keep that up for tonight, because an open learning kind of atmosphere is better for everybody. We're all going to learn from it. So as I say, keep the text box going. So looking forward.
Thanks, Seamus. Yeah. And Lloyd, do you want to introduce yourself there?
Yeah, thanks very much, James. Lloyd Colfer, GPO at Wexford GA. I suppose the lockdown situation has provided us all with plenty of time to evaluate and reflect, not just on our roles with the GA, but on life in general. And we're going to look to provide you some practical ways to put some quantitative data on your evaluations, and also then look to plan over the next couple of weeks before we get started on how we're going to work our success in the future.
Excellent, Lloyd. And I'll just give a bit of background to myself. As I said, my name is James Flynn, and I'm a GPO here in Wexford, coming on 2 years now, kind of in a couple of months' time. And just to give you an insight to my day, or week to week, kind of, I suppose, working as a GPO, I can see up to maybe 1,100 children each week, and that's kind of works out at about 40 plus sessions a week. Okay, and just regard this topic, planning is imperative for me. It's key for me to be able to operate, first of all, and then to get things to a high standard consistently. Planning is essential. And tonight we will look at ways to do that and whatnot. And if you want to just the overview tonight, then what we're going to look at, first of all, for the first maybe kind of broken into 15-minute segments. So we look at it all at the process of evaluating. Okay, so that's our first section. Then we kind of move on to various forms of player development plans. That kind of leads well into making a season plan. I know we have a shortened season now, but we hope now that you will have the tools and an idea how to go about making a 3 or 4 month plan, whatever we're left with when we get back to the field. And finally then, what we're going to do then, last point then, is focusing on session plans. So with the session plans then as well, is just identifying what is a good session and what are the components of a good session, and even how do you evaluate that session as well. Okay, so I want to move it on there, Darren. I suppose the first step in any planning phase is we have to evaluate. We have to see what was going on and whatnot. Okay, and I think it's something we practiced this a couple of times over the last couple of days, and we formed the PowerPoint and whatnot, and we came to the conclusion that as coaches we are constantly evaluating. Okay, even when we don't realize it, we're doing it subconsciously. We're looking at kids train, looking at ourselves, we're reflecting on our own practice. So we do it subconsciously anyway. So what we're trying to do now is we do it in a coherent manner that we're able to write it down and get a bit of more data from it that we're able to use more effectively when we plan on going forward. Okay, data is a scary word, and I'm probably scared further. We can break it down into kind of, as Lloyd touched on, probably qualitative data and quantitative data. Okay, and just in layman's terms, qualitative is kind of opinions. Okay, so that's the data you gather when you meet with your coaches, when you talk about, okay, what we're going to do or what we did do or what can we work on. All right, so qualitative data is based on opinions of coaches, players, parents, or all that sort of stuff. Okay, and we're going to touch on as well as a little bit on quantitative. Okay, I don't want to scare anyone away. Using quantitative data is basically using figures, and it's something that we already might use kind of if we're looking, even monitoring attendance at training. That's a quantitative technique. So you're keeping a track of numbers of training. You're seeing how you maintain your numbers. Similar enough if you're playing a match and you're keeping track of wides hit under pressure or stuff like that. That's all quantitative, and we're going to look at it and show a couple of ways where we can use that data on performance and attributes of players and coaches, and try and focus where we're strong and also where we're not so strong. So that's the whole idea of why we do evaluate, and I think it really set up as we go forward, and it should explain itself as we go forward. Okay, so if you want to move it on there again, Lara, please. So, okay, we're going to start with a question in the text box here now to kick this off, okay? And the question is to players now, when we return to the field, what do we think are the requirements of the person? Okay, and I use person because it's probably a mantra now in coaching that we have to treat the person before the player, okay? And it's very important for retention of players and also aid their greater development going forward. And we feel very strongly that it's that good people make good players, and they'll be there for lifelong players as well. So in the text box there, guys, what do we see? What are the requirements of the person? What do we provide for through our sessions? What requirements do we have to meet of the person when we return to the field? Seamus, what was your first one come to your mind? I see a couple coming through already. So Seamus, want to give me one there maybe that you?
Yeah, well, the first one up there, let's see, right, you gotta enjoy coming in there, like especially in the way we are at the moment, in lockdown, and I'm here with a family that have three, well, one's 20, 18 and 13. I know for myself, they can't wait to get into a field, and I definitely can't wait until they get into a field, and for that, then they just want to have fun, and get in there. They want to meet their friends, because once the fields open up, I think what everybody needs to understand is a lot of the players it's the first time they're going to actually meet the rest of their friends in a group. So you can imagine, if you're going there with a real intense session, it's probably not going to work. And I mean, that goes right up to adults, right down to nursery. Like, like I know myself there with the adult teams, like they want enjoyment. It's the reason why it's almost the exact reason why we started in the first place. You're looking at fun, social, friends, and hopefully along the way learn something. And I think that's what, as for me going to the field at the moment, anyway, I just want to have a bit of crack with the lads, and sure, we'll get on then into a more as the year goes on. But at the moment, if I was in the field, just a bit of crack with everybody, really.
Very much so. I think that is coming through from the text box. We're getting great replies there. Kind of removing the fear of failure is very good. Growth mindset, adding variety, return to normality, kind of reassurance, all that stuff, safe environment, enjoyment, fun. Being part of a group is a strong one from Martin there. Excellent. Okay, so guys, I think we have a good grasp of that, and even from the group discussion there, we all know that there are requirements of the player, and we have to create that environment where all this is possible. Going on then to kind of the second part of this then, guys, we're looking at, and they kind of coincide with each other. So when we plan our sessions and when we're delivering our sessions, we have to focus on the requirements of the player, okay? And with that then, we touched on it before, and a lot of you would have been on the tourist workshops over the last month, is that all our sessions are age appropriate, okay? It's focusing on the skills and the skills of that age group, and a lot of that comes from player pathways, like set down by the tourist model, or in fact your own club player pathways. Okay, just moving on there again, Seamus or Dara, sorry. Okay, so to get us in the mood for kind of evaluation, I think that a good place to start is with ourselves. Okay, so I'm asking everyone now to take out your pen and paper. What I'm going to do now is we're going to evaluate ourselves as coaches. Okay, so there's going to be 6 words going to pop up here at the minute. So on your piece of paper, I'll ask you to scribble down the word, and then grade yourself and rate yourself 1 to 5. 1 being the lowest and 5 being excellent. Okay, so if you want to press on there, Darryl, it'll come up 1. So guys, first one is planning. So how would you rate yourself out of 5 regards your planning for your coaching, your sessions? Okay, next one there, Darryl. Okay, so this is kind of knowledge of your sport or your skills and movements associated with your sport, okay? And probably your knowledge regards to the age you're working with, okay? So grade yourself out of 5 there again. So we're going to repeat this process for the 6 components, and just kind of a bit of self-reflection. So we're going to ask you then look at communication. So this is the communication, probably in a few components. Communication, there's a lot of communication that goes on when we're coaching. First of all, in our explanation of our drills, when we're introducing and demonstrating exercises, and similar enough then when we're providing feedback to our kids. Are we using appropriate words, understandable words? Is it specific, measurable? And also, I suppose, with communication when we're dealing with parents as well. Okay, so our next point there then is regarding our innovation. Do we bring new ideas to the pitch, variety? And also then, are we adaptable? If something doesn't work out or wrong, are we able to progress it or regress it? Okay, so grade yourself out of 5 in that one as well. The next one we're looking at is kind of, are you fair and balanced? Okay, so that kind of covers 2 things, but it's fairness of being fair to all children, treating all children the same or players the same. And similar enough, then kind of providing a balance in your training. We're not too top heavy in, say, skills compared to games or vice versa or whatnot. So it's holistic development. And finally then, I suppose, is the great one is patience. How patient are we with our team, with our players? Okay, so this is just a little self-exercise, and just to get us in the frame of mind of how we can do it and whatnot. Okay, so if you want to move it on there, Dara, okay. So the next task then, guys, I'll just ask you to draw a circle like that on your page. Okay, nice and simple. Circle, draw an X through it and a line across horizontal. Okay, so we call this kind of just an evaluation circle. Okay, and this can be used in many ways. Okay, it's a great tool. So we're evaluating coaches at the minute. So what we're going to do, if you want to move it on, Dara, is we're going to fill each piece of the pie with one of those attributes. Okay, so they're the exact same ones we went through there a few minutes ago: knowledge and skills, new ideas, adaptability, fair, balanced, patient, communication, and planning. Okay, so all these components make up the coach, okay, or they're very important to being a coach. Okay, so what I want you to do is what I've done there now. So I graded myself on all those components, and I want you to put a little mark in each of them. Okay, so I gave myself a 4 for planning, a 4 for knowledge and skills, 5 for new ideas, adaptability, 4 for fair and balanced, 4 for patience, and 3 for communication. Okay, so that's 4. I hope you're keeping up now. I'm not moving too fast. So I suppose the next thing, guys, then I just want you all just to see what engagement we have. Add up your score and put it into the text box there. Okay, all right. So my score is what? 9, 13, 16, 24. 24 out of 30. Okay, so Connor's 24, Lloyd 24. Great stuff. 23. Excellent. 25. Good man, Thomas. Thanks, JJ. Well done, Stephen. That's it, Michael. Well done, Paul. Excellent. Okay, so we're all following. We're all up to pace. That's really good stuff. Okay. All right. I suppose the next point of this, guys, is what we're going to focus on now is going to pick your weakest segment. Okay. For me, it's communication. All right. So I want you to focus on your low score. And I suppose the next bit, you want to move on there, Darragh, the next slide again there, sorry. Okay, so identify your low score and write down 1 or 2 things that you will do to help develop this area over the next 3 months, okay? So, regards my one is communication. It's something I always trying to improve on. I feel at times, and you're probably aware by now, that sometimes I can talk very quickly, and I'm trying to make a conscious effort to slow down, especially when I'm coaching and whatnot as well, and delivering and things like this. Okay, so that's one thing I'm going to try and focus on, and I think a lot of it is practice. Okay, and the second thing in regards to communication, I'm trying to cut it down and be more concise and be more specific in my feedback. All right, so I suppose on that journey now, then hopefully now we're all writing something down. And I suppose we're going to have just a quick discussion here now. If anyone, can you go back there, Darragh, to the previous slide? Sorry. So we've labelled them all there 1 to 6 on the outside. If anyone is struggling at coming up with ways of improving any of them, we'll ask you now to put in the text box something we could develop and help you out with. Lloyd, do you want to come in? Or sorry.
Just want to stick in a number there, lads, and something there if you're struggling on skills or, whatever it is. Put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. And we'll see is there anything there. Yeah, RJ there has a new ideas and adaptability. But James, you would 5 down on that there. You want to give RJ a bit of a prompt on how you work on that?
Yeah, very much so. Now, I was on a course there in December, and a couple of lads were actually on the course there with me. And I learned a great quote from it. And he says, the man taught to us, he says that the best coaches out there are the greatest thieves. It was absolutely fantastic, okay? And it's something that really opened my eyes, that sometimes we don't have to reinvent. We can beg, borrow, and steal from other coaches, okay? Like, you're coming on here tonight, hopefully to find new ideas regarding planning and evaluating and all that. But regards me personally, I think Twitter is a fantastic resource, especially for coaches. Okay, it's absolutely fantastic. I encourage you to follow different PE accounts and different and there's some samples coming through there, kind of the cuckoo coach and different things and whatnot. Twitter is a great thing. Like even the games development staff in Wexford, we're always putting up new ideas and sharing things and whatnot. And to add there, Seamus or Lloyd,
you have. I'm just looking there. Some of the others. You go ahead there, Lloyd.
Yeah, patience is a key one for coaches. I think no matter how experienced you are, no matter how good you are, it's going to take 6 months when you start working with a team to get them buying into what you're trying to do and getting them to do the things the way you want to do them. So we have to always, not be too hard on ourselves. And then if we're working with younger players, it can take years. If you get a group of 7-year-olds, it'll be 10 years before they move through the player pathway and into adulthood. So we have a long time to prepare these players and give them all the skills and the tactical prowess that they require to make that step up. So there's no one has a magic wand here, and there's no particular rush on it. We have to just give ourselves time and give the players time to develop on their own journey. And I think that's important for us to remember as coaches.
Very good. And just going through the text box here now, making sure I'm not leaving anyone out. And Niall McCulley there, he says when he's explaining things, he over-explains things. And he actually answers his own question. How is he going to adapt that? Try and make it more concise. Give him a little instruction, let him start. And if you have to hop in again to change it, let it go, see how it goes, then you can bring it back. And rather than keeping too long and over-explaining things. 1 or 2 key things at a time, coaching points is huge. Kevin there talks about communications, reluctance to give negative feedback. Feedback can be a tough one or whatnot, but you'd want to talk about kind of sometimes you have to maybe build a positive up and how we disguise our feedback then and kind of disguise it as, "Jez, you're going really well. Maybe try doing this way next time. If you done it this way, you'd be so much better." So you have to kind of put a positive spin on it, I suppose, and come in from there.
I think a good rule of thumb, James, to remember is positive feedback in front of the group, and any negative feedback to be delivered one-to-one. You know.
Yeah, fantastic. There's a few hands up there. Does anyone want to come in there?
Thomas Cronin is looking to come in there, I think.
Yeah.
Thomas, do you want to open up your mic and come in there?
He's after
gone
texting in
now.
the meantime, so he kind of developed new.
I'm just guessing. I'd say Thomas has a 2-1 communication.
So he's very good texter here. Anyway, he got his text in, so he's developing new ideas from 6 to 9, which is very what we're trying to do, and what we're trying to do Wexford is trying to commit a community of coaches where we can share the ideas and whatnot. In Wexford, you might have seen some of the work from Al Monaghan on Twitter and whatnot. It's very good stuff, and it's age appropriate, and it's fun, and it's whatnot. And once you get onto Twitter, you'll find yourself following new people and whatnot, and it's kind of like a rabbit hole, and you keep building your base, I suppose.
Yeah.
Sorry, lads, I joined by the phone there. Sorry.
Yeah, no hassle, Thomas.
I'm after joining there. The headset didn't work. What I'm finding is I'm dealing with kids from 6 to 9 and trying to get. I have a certain amount of drills and I do them, but then I kind of feel like I'm wasting time developing new ideas because they don't get it. It takes 2 or 3, obviously limited amount of time. So then it just takes that little bit longer to introduce these new drills, and you feel like, Jesus, that's a kind of a waste of a session because they didn't get it. It mightn't work, etc. like that. So that's the problem I find. The ideas I can get, but it's actually implementing them new drills and new ideas.
Yeah. Is it breaking down? You don't have to answer if you don't want, Thomas. Is it too advanced, or is it not explained, or is it just different and they don't want to adapt to it, or what?
It's not they want to adapt. I suppose it's just them learning the new drill or the new idea.
Yeah.
And kind of you're walking through, because you only have an hour and 15 minutes. So I don't want to waste, if I'm doing 5 drills or 4 drills, I don't want to waste half an hour explaining a drill that they only half guess. And I know there's reward eventually to it, but it's that balance between kind of, I wouldn't say wasting a session, but not getting the maximum benefit out of the session by.
Yeah.
James,
can I come in there?
Yeah, work away, Seamus.
Just Thomas there on that there. I'm trying to just picture like what you're, let's say, looking to get across there in the drill. If it's something that you think that they're not getting, is there a way of looking at your own drill and having a kind of a starter, like a beginner's part of the drill, and then the following week bring in intermediate level, and then the following week bring it in advanced as it's getting better? They're taking a little bit over each week, and then by the 3rd week they probably have got it. Now I know it's taking you 3 weeks, but it's probably only going to take maybe 5-10 minutes out of your session in total, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, that makes more sense, as opposed to trying to master the whole lot of it, do smaller bits. That's good, excellent actually. Thanks.
Yeah, very good. Nothing else there, Lloyd. I think we covered everything else, have we, kind of, or?
I think it's important to say what Thomas is describing there is perfectly natural for any coach. We've all
very
gone
much so. Very much
similar situations to that. I think to say again, patience is the key. Every time you introduce a new concept or a new game or a new drill, there'll always be a period of time where they have to adjust or reevaluate what's going on. And it's just a case of patience and allowing them the chance to work it out for themselves, Thomas, I would say.
And with that, I think if it's comfortable and there's no mistakes, you have to question, is there any learning going on as well? So embrace the new idea. You're challenging them physically, you're challenging them mentally to try something new. There's going to be mistakes and breakdowns, but we have to create the atmosphere where that is perfectly acceptable and recommended, really. That's how we truly learn and problem solve and everything else.
And Seamus's idea about bridging it for them is also really important too.
Very much so. If you want to move on, maybe there, Dara, we'll just keep the ball rolling. Okay, so guys, with that then it's kind of leaning on, we're after evaluating ourselves there, and sorry, we have a microphone on, do we? Someone's watching the match in the background there. Can you mute all mics, Dara?
I think it was Seamus Byrne, Jim.
Yeah. What's the score?
I have it on the card anyway.
So, guys, as we kind of reflect ourselves and kind of got in the frame of mind of how we can evaluate. Okay, so we're going to try and formulate a similar program, kind of or kind of set up in regards to player. Okay, so if you want to move it on there, Dara. Okay, so guys, similar to how we divided the coach into 6 opponents or attributes, we're now asking you to write down the 6 most important skills or body movements or elements of team play that are important to the group that you're working with. Okay, so on your piece of paper in front of you, write down 6 areas that you feel are most important to the group you're working with. So with that, do you want to move it on one more slide there, Dara? One more click. All right, and similar enough, if you have a player pathway, it's a great way to help this. You can pull bits off it. If you don't have a player pathway, Leinster provided a tourist pathway, which is very good, or even just use your own initiative. What's important for your under-11 team? Lloyd, do you want to give an example maybe of under-7 football team?
Yeah, if we're starting with the nursery and the little ones, I think it's important that we focus on the fundamentals. You know, you're talking about your ABCs and your RJTs. So agility, balance, coordination, running, jumping, throwing. You know, there's no need for overemphasis on the skills of the game, whether it be football or hurling. If we can embed the principles of movement in our kids and get them all moving with the proper technique and getting used to the way their body moves, then I think that would be ticking all the boxes for all the little ones.
Age group, yeah, perfect. And Shem, do you want to maybe break down, say, under 17 hurling then maybe or something? Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, when it gets up to that stage, under 17 and into adult, like you're looking at, they're now playing competitive, like to compete. So you're looking at skills of taking on the man, scoring under pressure. You know, you're looking at all the stuff that what Lloyd was saying there, the basic skills now at its most, at its championship level. So that's what you're looking to try to get into when you get into adult. You know, it's not just taking the score over there, but now can he do it under pressure? Can he do it with, let's say, there's only time limit on it, like there's 5 points down and there's 2 minutes to go. What are you going to do with the ball? That type of thing, decision making. So, you know, under 17 adults definitely would be concentrating on that level of it.
Very much so. So guys, if you have your 6 components now, just give me a thumbs up in the chat. We might ask Lloyd maybe to do maybe something in the middle, maybe under 11s in the meantime. So once you have your 6 attributes associate to your team, gives a thumbs up and we can move on then once we get a few in. Okay, so Lloyd, in the meantime, do you want to talk through maybe under 11, 13 football?
Yes, so when we're looking at 11s, 13s, moving through the 15s, you're talking about catching, passing, kicking, striking. Can they solo? Can they do the near hand tackle? And then the most important thing that we emphasize all the time in the schools and in the clubs is can they work bilaterally? Can they do it equally on both sides? That's a key focus. So when we get our kids through the nursery, through the under 7s, from under 9s right through to 13s, we're looking to embed all the skills on both sides.
Very good, very good. Okay, so we've done there and asking more thumbs up as well.
Just to come in there with the back on the hurling end of it, then I was talking about 17s, but right back down to where the fundamentals in the game there for us, like to say different to football, I mean, getting the hands correct on the hurl, which is a huge one, which really only starts to take effect if it's incorrect when they get older, like when they're at under 17, and that's when it starts to affect them not getting the skill done as fast as they can. So when we're doing the fundamentals at nursery and under 9s and that, it's so important to get the hands right, and it can be a difficult one to get. Like, just a point on that about getting those skills right with the using the hands and the hurling. That I just see there, Paul Gannon and Dave Hughes there in the previous there within text box. We were talking about the sandwich effect there, about give a compliment, then a positive, then a negative, then a positive. It's a real good way of getting suppose getting your point across, and because I know myself, when you're young kids, you're trying to get them to hold the hurl right. It can be very easy to drop the hurl and forget about it if you're too hard on them. But if you go in that kind of sandwich effect that the lads are talking about, it's the best way of going about it. Just get the correct hands for me.
Excellent. We're getting a few thumbs up there. Good stuff. We might call on someone there now. Have you spotted anyone you want to call on, Shem or Lloyd or?
Nick Whelan could come in there, James.
Yeah, Nick, if you mind open up your mic there maybe and just maybe talking us through your age group and what you put down, it'd be great.
How are you doing, lads?
Well, Nick.
Nick.
How are you getting on, lads? Yeah, just basically I'm involved with minors, minor hurling football team, and basically mastering the simple skills of the game, like what Seamus said about doing them under pressure, understanding team play,
Very good.
understanding their positions and what they're expected to do in their positions. Fitness was another one, especially at that age.
Yeah.
That's basically what I had for those.
Great stuff, Nick. Great stuff. Excellent. Have we got something off the other end of the chart there, Lloyd? Have anyone for maybe 7s or 9s?
Martin Brown could come in there if he can open his mic, James.
Yep.
I don't know if they have microphones in Clongeen. No, he mightn't be working. Will I get someone else?
There's a Andrew English there. I think, is that Andrew of Adamstown? Am I right in that, or am I?
It is, yeah.
Andrew will come in there. I think Andrew's with the 9s. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a lot of people's first time using this stuff now. It is finicky enough to come in on at times. But I think we have a good understanding there. Lloyd and Seamus and Nick gave some great examples of what are age appropriate, all right? So we all have that in mind now. We have kind of a broad section of 6 things that we can focus on. So if you want to move it on there, Dara. So guys, to just show you these are what I was talking about there earlier, where we can pull the stuff off. These are player pathways, okay? So the one on the right and the one on the left there are ones from, say, a club in Wexford, and they basically identify what is important for each age group, okay? So the one on the right there is under 7 program. Their primary skills are the roll lift, the jab lift, the solo run, the chest catch, strike out a hand, hand pass, block down, as well as their fundamental movements. Similar enough, the one in the middle end breaks down under 7 football. So kicking, ground kicking, dribbling, bouncing, breaks down all that stuff. And similar enough, then the one in the background is if your club doesn't have a pathway, this is a great resource to pull back. This is a card made up. We have made up for both hurling and football, and breaking down then kind of that's the 11s. So there's the 13s, 15s, 17s, and similarly there's the 9s, 7s, and nursery card as well. So from that card, you can identify what is age appropriate, and it's a good way of picking things about it that you can use for this analysis. So I'm moving on again there, Dara. Good stuff. Okay, so these are just a couple of samples I drew up, kind of. I hope something like you all have at home there now. So I broke down under 6s, similar to Lloyd has said there. So catching, agility, coordination, running, striking, kicking are all important at under 6 level. Under 11, evasion, striking, handling, tackling, support play, decision making. 15s, handling, bit of strength coming in there, tack and play, speed, tackling, kicking. Okay, all right. So I kind of let the cat out of the bag there now, kind of a little bit. Okay, so we want to move on there again, Dara. Kind of. So the next thing then, what we're going to do, kind of, is apply the same thing. I want you all to. You want to go on one more, Dara, again? To repeat the same process we done for ourselves. So I want you to all visualize one player in your club now. All right, visualize your player, and I want you to score them off those 6 areas. Okay, so 5 being the highest again, and 1 being low. Okay, all right. So take a couple of minutes there. One player in your mind. What's he like kicking? What's he like hand passing? What's he like jumping and catching or whatever? Whatever 5, 6 components you have there, grade that player to make a player profile.
I think this is a really useful exercise, James, for all coaches at all levels, no matter what team you're working with, from underage right up to adult, men or women. It's really useful to focus on what are the strengths of the players in the group, what are the weaknesses, and what can we pick out some key components that we're going to work on now over the next few weeks when we do get back into the field.
Very much so. Excellent.
It's also there, James, just to come in on that there as well. The beauty about this thing is this is exactly what you see. The information that you're going to put down here now, you're looking at the player. This is what you see in the game or you see in the training session. You might notice him, gee, he's always turning on to hit it onto his strike off his right. Always turn to his right. The minute you get home, jot that down or have something with you. I need to work on that. Young Colin there, as he gets older, he's not even going to go start striking off his left. He's going to get caught. So there's a coaching point, and there's an evaluation of the player, and it's done. You're doing it all the time anyway. When you're looking at a game, just get into the habit of probably recording it for yourself is the next thing.
Very much so. I might try and invite Stephen Turtle. Stephen normally comes in on these webinars, so Stephen, if you can open your microphone, you might share with us.
How are you doing, lads?
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Hi, Stephen.
Okay, you don't have to name any names now, okay? We'll keep that anonymous as such. So maybe just give your age group and then the little traits you broke down.
Yeah, well, the kid I was thinking about now, he's great in the hurling aspect. He's good off one side. He's not great off his right side. He's good off his left. I try and work on a lot, but he just doesn't seem to want to do it. But I keep persevering with it. He's a good athlete. He's a good runner. He has great movement, good off his left and right, movement-wise. He's in football-wise, he's good striking left and right.
Excellent.
Yeah, he's good speed.
So then, from this process, you're definitely able to identify his strengths and where he needs a bit of work is that left side.
Yeah, I know exactly
very much so.
To work with it. Yeah.
Excellent. Stephen, what age group is that? You're with 11s, is it?
Under 11.
Under 11s, excellent. Have we got someone maybe either side of that then that wants to come in? You can raise up your hand there.
I think Kevin is looking to come in there, James.
Yeah.
He has a question.
Yeah, I can take that there if it's the one on the text box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does Kevin want to come in and just ask it himself?
Sorry, lads. Yeah, just a quick question. Would you get the player to kind of score themselves and then you can have a discussion with them to compare and contrast?
Yeah, I'll take that there, James. Do you mind? Yeah, Kevin, I was looking at there in the text box there, and in another slide or two up there, that's part of a very early process. I go with a team that I'm involved. I give them a kind of a player evaluation form for them to fill out, that they give me back the information. This is long before I'd even see him playing, so I'd have an idea as to where they have themselves and what they think they're good at and where they think they're weak at, and I'd also then use it then as to what's their view on for the rest of the year, what's their goals, what way do they see themselves going and the team going. So definitely, it is definitely a tool I'd use, and then once I see him playing, I'm going to be evaluating him all along, and I can always refer back to that information that I get from him. So that's a very good idea, actually.
And from what age would you do that?
Well, what I was talking about there, what I'm going to be dealing with later on is kind of the adults, but right down along, I suppose it all depends on the player itself now. Very hard to see you having a discussion with a 7, 8 or 9-year-old about that, but in a different way you could. Yes. I'm not saying that you wouldn't be evaluating them and getting information off them. Possibly wouldn't write it out or ask them anything. But when it comes up to your 13, 14 and 15, and especially now the way they are, they actually like that information. They like you're starting to give them a little bit more power on, they're starting to feed back into you. And as part of the player pathway, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for your players to start taking responsibility and a little bit more input from them. So probably 15, 16 up, I would probably be looking at that. I know the development squads are doing stuff like that. Isn't that right, lads?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's a key part of the player pathway, that we get not only us reflecting on the abilities of the player, but also the players reflecting on their own ability. And then we have some data to go off. We know where they think they are, where we think they are, and then it can be the starting point for some very powerful conversations around where the player is at and where we're trying to get them to,
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Just on this then, what we're trying to get towards now and what we do recommend kind of going forward is that we've done one player there now. So if you have a squad maybe of 16, you might take 6 players out of it. Say take 2 of the weaker players, 2 of the players around the middle and 2 of the better players, and follow the same process. And what you find then kind of, you might find striking similarities, saying that, oh, we all have to work on our weaker side, or we all have to work more on our athletic development. And it's something I carried out, and probably unofficially, with one of my clubs, is that I went in and I was evaluating them kind of on what they were doing. And this was talking kind of 9s and 11s, say, and their technical side, their skills were very, very strong, and they're really, really advanced in those. But they're probably, by developing so much of their technical skills, they might have maybe neglected their athletic development of those kids for a couple of ages, and which is fair enough. They're aware of it, and they're kind of maybe trying to introduce more athletic development now going forward to address those little weaknesses. I think RJ has his hand up. Do you want to come in, RJ?
Yeah, thanks, guys. You're talking about player evaluation there. Are you looking at more like, say, the honesty of a player, or maybe the skills that they have or haven't got? Or could you look at other things like, say, how they understand your game plan, for example, or how do they understand how to fuel their body? Because I'm more talking from an adult point of view, because you know how important it is to fuel your body properly, know what to eat, drink, and know when to eat it as well, you know, and obviously know what not to drink as well and eat. Can that be part of a player evaluation?
Exactly. RJ, I saw samples of these and we're researching them and whatnot. I seen evaluations with 60 questions on it. You know what I mean? We can make this as complex as we want. If the older you want to get, you can reflect on so many areas. Okay. The idea of this one here, we're kind of focusing on 6 things we find most important for you as a coach. And what we're trying to do is formulate a sample of your group that helps you plan your sessions or your season going forward. That makes sense?
Understand. Yeah, perfect. Brilliant. Thank you.
James, I think it's important to say that you decide what you think is important. So you can put whatever you want into the player evaluation, you know, whatever information you're trying to extract.
Yeah, very much so.
Mick has a question there as well, James.
Yeah.
Mick, do you want to come on there?
Sorry, it was more just an observation.
Comment. Yeah.
I think Seamus mentioned it there. It's about getting the players involved in their own development. So I think it was key in terms of they're involved in measuring their own weaknesses and how they can improve on those as well.
Very good, Michael. Perfect. Yeah. And empower is the word. You nailed it on the head there. I'll just maybe give the example there. I saw this in practice now. My own brother, kind of when he was playing, say, under 16 and under 18 in the club, they had a coach, and they done this early in play in the year. Kind of, it was nearly a private document. They gave them out an A4 page. You want to move on to the next slide there, and it kind of leads as well into the next slide there as well. It's just kind of a sample individual player development plan. So the players got this at the meeting or early in play, and it's there in black and white, very simple. What do you want to do this year? You know what I mean? Kind of, it's a very broad question. It gives ownership to them. It just gets them thinking what they actually want to achieve in regards to their sporting prowess for the year. And then they've named 2 or 3 things there, and then they put the reflection back on them. What 3 things do I have to be able to do in order to achieve the above? Again, it's fantastic, powerful stuff. And then it brings it on another step forward. And what things can I do on a daily basis to achieve this? Okay, so you have your overarching goal, filtering down into a medium-term goal, into a short-term goal, and it's all working together to achieve personal development. Do you want to come in that one, Shem?
Yeah, I was going to use that there now when we come in. Like, I'd use that at the very start of the year with a group, to get the feel of what the group or where they want, and have it as an individual, and then as the group as where do they see themselves going during the year? What's the goal they're setting? Like, and you know, like you might say to yourself, you know, and you know, if you ask a lad out straight just in front of the group, oh, I want to win the county final, it doesn't up like that. You know, there's certain levels and certain directions and goals that they have to set to get to there. Like, and you try to tease that out. And I would use a form like this definitely there, get the player himself, get him to see exactly what he is like. And if he's writing it down, and it's a small thing, like when he actually writes it down on the sheet and he sees it himself, and you're giving him time to think about it, and he writes it down, that in itself is a huge exercise for him. What goes on in the head, and he doing that is unbelievable. Like he starts looking at it, kind of going, actually, I am good at that. Because they do find it very difficult to put down what they're good at. They're very good at putting down things that they're not so good at, you know. And had RJ talking about the hydration and what food should be taken and looking after themselves that way. Even that, I mean, you can have those questions in if that's the information you're looking to get. And of course, it also it depends on the level of the team that you're working with. Like, you know, that those questions are something else coming into that. You know, that I would use that, but I'd use it at the start of the year to get a feel for the group, see what direction they want to go in. But I think RJ also said there when he was asking, you know, the evaluate how they take on the way he wants to play, his tactics and that. You wouldn't know that at the start of the year, and the player wouldn't know either. You'd only start figuring that one out during the year as you're going along. Like, so again, that you'd always be evaluating right through the year. But for that one there with the form about the player, I'd use that at the start of the year just to get a feel for the group. Like,
yeah, Claire made a comment there. It says, would you name 3 things you feel your coach and mentor could help achieve? And you're just exactly, Claire, you can make this whatever you want. And even I think that the coach you mentioned that done this last time, done that in an open forum as such, so you might have broken the subgroups and actually got that from the meeting, how we can support your development. Very good, Claire. Great point. Seamus, I know we're kind of caught for time there now, but we talked about this before, and you gave the example of you got a player to fill out that form with a development squad a few years ago. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. I wouldn't say mind me mentioning his name, but I'll keep it. I won't, just in case anyway. But yeah, I kept him, like, you know, and he be 21 now. He'll be 21 years of age now, and I had him at under 15. And I happened to be involved with the club then a few years later when they give him a hand in there, and I came across it. And I brought it down to train him one night with me, and I showed it to him, and he was laughing at it. But the beauty about it was he actually worked on the things that he wasn't so good at, and the things that he was good at, he was actually excellent at. He ended up starting in the middle of the field that year. That would have been 19, so 2 years ago. And he was brilliant at catching the ball in the air, but wasn't very fast. And what he learned how to do was just read the game really well, get underneath the ball, catch it, and give it off to somebody else. So it was great to show him, you know, to have that little bit of information back 4 years before that, and then show him, look, at there's how you're after developing. And even him seeing that and knowing, he looked at it and kind of, yeah, you know, I have got better at that. That gave him brilliant and great confidence to go on for the rest of the year then, you know. Just good information to have on record.
Very good, very good. Darragh, we'll keep moving now. I can look at the clock there. Okay, guys, so next section, kind of focus on the player, and then we're kind of come back to more responsibility of the coach and kind of developing season plans, okay? Hopefully from the exercise above, we've recognised where we're strong, what needs a bit more attention than others regards skills and even body movements or whatever. So if you want to click through that, Darragh, there, a few clicks. Okay, so another one there, Darragh. Yeah, so why do we make a season plan? Okay, so a season plan offers great focus, direction, peace of mind, and a bit of credibility to what you're going about, okay? Like a plan is a plan as such. It's just a roadmap, and it gives you a bit of peace of mind. And I'll talk you through a few samples here now, and it helps makes your job much easier as we go along. Okay, so I suppose we have to identify here at this point that there are 2 big differences between a season plan for child and a season plan for youth and adult. Okay, so so looking at it, the child focus, we look at player development. Okay, it's not about performance. It's all about developing the player, making sure they acquire the age appropriate skills at that age group, retain them, upskill them, give them positive experience, and get them on to the next stop. Okay, and whereas the adult player development plans is pretty much focused on peaking at the right time, whilst also including that fun and learning environment as well. But we're kind of working towards championship and winning as such. Where do we start then? For the child, kind of I said that we kind of hopefully there's a player pathway in place in the club, so that's your starting point. Okay, what do the club expect of me at this age, or what are the age appropriate skills identified by Leinster at that age group? That's a great starting point when you're forming year plans. Similarly enough with the adults, many people work back from the championship date. Okay, so if you're working with your 17s and 15s, where we are learning to compete, we kind of maybe have to lean more towards this model, is that we're hoping to peak towards the end of the year or whatnot, whilst also including development. And very much with the adult teams as well, is that we work back from the championship date. Okay, do you want to move on? Okay, guys, I'll just talk you through this briefly. Okay, so this is a sample yearly plan. Colin Crowley, a GDA in Cork, shared this with me, and I thought it was a powerful bit of information. Every section there is very important, and really would make the job much easier for any club coach if they had that document in their possession. Okay, so basically, I'll talk you through it there. The first column across the top, we're looking at months of the year. So their year runs from February to November. Okay, and on below that, then we talk about activity. So with regards to activity, is the provision of games. Okay, very important. That's where we develop by playing games. So this club has provided games throughout the year. So you're talking about indoor league in February, go games blitzes March to July, summer leagues, go game blitzes again, and then finished off with a little small indoor league or club league. Okay, and from that, the club identified what is their core skill for the year, what is their focus for the year, and this club identified that this is striking from the hand on the run, and once we get that to a level, we're going to try and do it under pressure. Okay, so every training session they're going to do that year will include a component of striking on the run and eventually striking on the run under pressure. Okay, how they supplement their training then as well is with an associate skill. Okay, so their associate skill is pulled from their player pathway. Their player pathway identifies there's 3 important skills that all our under 10 or hurling should have. It's the high catch, batting high ball, and breaking ball. Okay, so most of it is focused about aerial ability. Okay, so how he does that is, look at the third column down, he assigns a month to each one, and it just keeps rotating. Okay, high catch, batting the high ball, breaking ball, and it kind of repeats itself. With that, then there's a second skill on each night as well, and the second skill is the skills identified from their under 9 pathway. So these were the ones they would have been working on last year: the jab lift, ball control, and the solo. And they're just reinforcing them, upping the speed, upping the intensity of them, bringing them to the next level along the way. And also each week then have a defensive skill as well, which changes rotations as well. So guys, what do you think? Any questions on that, guys, or do we see how powerful that can be? And I suppose the real important thing on that is holistic development. You're not neglecting any skill. You're adhering to the player pathway. You're focusing on all skills equally throughout the year. And I think it's a powerful message, and I recommend you take a shot of it and try replicate it for yourself going forward. And to add there, Seamus or Lloyd?
I think it's important to, sorry Sam, I think it's important to notice the repetition, that to make our players technically proficient, it requires repeated practice over a prolonged period of time, and there's no, again, to repeat, no quick fix, that the kids will all develop at their own rate over a period of time.
Great stuff. And with that, Lloyd, and we discussed it earlier, repetition is good, but we can, and that's where we have to come up with coaches, how to coach the skill in different ways. You know what I mean? Kind of, so you could disguise it maybe in a straight line drill one day, and then you're into a game based the next day, and then you're into a game situation or something, vice versa and whatnot. And it's coming up with new ideas and new challenges, how to teach the skill.
Absolutely.
Directly or indirectly.
That's where creativity is going to come into it. And particularly now with the new guidelines, when we go back and we're working in small pods of 10, that the creative coaches are really going to come to the fore and really be able to show what they're capable of, you know?
Yeah.
Just on that there, see, I'm just going to try and take RJ's point there and secretary there, asking more there. Could you imagine being the under 12 manager, knowing that your under 10 managers doing that the following year, this is what's going to come into you? Like, as RJ is saying there, is it easy to share with fellow mentors? That is what should be. That's what we're trying to preach, is the player pathway. There's a player pathway for under 10. Could you imagine then the following year for the 10-year-olds moving up, knowing that they have these skills covered, like, and that's trying to get the complete player. I see that was Kevin was asking there, how much time would you spend coaching skill when the use of small-sided games is being promoted in recent times? Again, that again is if you were going by this here, you know, and you do out your plan, like. They're focusing on. They're probably going to spend more time on striking from the hand on the run because that's what they want to get at the end of the year. So they'll probably, as they go through the year, will probably go, all right, we're not getting on as well as we should be. We're going to concentrate a little bit more on it. And I think that's the way to get the balance in that.
Yeah, just on that point, Kevin. We actually have another webinar next week. Damien Quigley's presenting on technical development, and he kind of goes through 5 phases of technical development. So from doing it in isolation, kind of drills based, and building and growing on it. And I definitely recommend that webinar to you next week. It'll answer a lot of your questions there. But on that as well, you can teach skills through small-sided games as well. It's giving your instruction and let him do it in a more natural environment. But Damien will definitely get into more detail next week with that, Kevin, and it'll answer your question tenfold next week. It's definitely there. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to move on, Seamus, and talk through the adult one, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a few there from the adult side of things. There. This is just a quick one there. As I said, with an adult team there, the first thing I would do there is that player evaluation form. Get them to fill that out. Have a meeting with the players there around the December time, after Christmas or even before there. Let them off, have their bit of crack over Christmas then, and have your plan put together. So out of those forms and out of that meeting, and you have a fair idea as to what exactly they're looking to do during the year. And you need to know that if you're going in to train a team or manage a team. You know, you can go in and just train a team the same way you train every other team, but there could be different goals set, like. So then there's a different way you have to go about training them. But I just have this one here. This is a team I was with one time, and I have to put this together. So what I came out with, January for me was, okay, to focus on building the group through physical tasks and targets, build rapport with the individuals, push them and see what motivates them and what pushes them. Like, at the end of the day, you're going to have to get to know these players and know exactly what makes them tick. And a month of January in muck, slop and dirt and things are not going well, it's the easiest point to see where lads will break and you can actually see them getting over it. And it's a great way of building rapport if you do it in the correct way. And it's also a great, if you don't do it in the correct way, you could lose half the group very quick. So to me, it's all about building your rapport with your team, finding out who your leaders are, how far will it go before the break type thing. It's really getting to know the group. The next phase then I had it broken down, it was February. Now the reason why I should have started with April's championship here in Wexford normally. Usually we get our 2 rounds in that. So that's what you're aiming to. That's where you want to be peaked. So I'm walking back from that. So there, January's done, kind of working the physical and building rapport. Then we're into February, and it's kind of my favourite part, personally, myself. Is here you start working on the skills, and it's all with the ball, and it's really where you can see the confidence of the player growing. And I love the bit about it with adult players. Like, we talk about kids learning new skills, and then you have that saying, like, all dogs, you know, you can't teach them new tricks. I don't believe that at all. When you see players, all of a sudden you show them all the skills of the game, you keep going through it and constantly working how fast they can do it, they start turning around and realizing, you know, I'm actually not too bad. And once you start hitting that confidence button, then you can go into the March area where you're starting to hit leagues and you're starting to practice matches. And again, you're often seeing leagues there, and this occurs so many times. A group there that could win the league in the year probably do poorly in championship, because sometimes the leagues, the way they're ran, and that, you know, the lads are still in college, there's exams or stuff. But what for me, and I have it in this group here, is to build confidence with the team. And we go out with maybe an idea in the game. And this is where I was saying, as RJ was talking about, you know, a style of play you're looking. This is where this should be worked. And if you're getting 2 or 3 scores out of a game with the style of play that you want to play, and you lose the game, and if you're going home disappointed because you lost the game, really, to me, the small goal I've taken out of that is concentrating on the 3 or 4 scores that we got and the style of play we want to, and move on from there. So it's just building confidence in the team and the way you want to play. Coming into March, then, March, I say, building the confidence in the overall playing team. Then we're into championship. And again, over the years, and I would have done this myself, start panicking and have I done enough type thing, and you know, your championship's around the corner. Too late then. Too late. This is where it's trying to get the mental strength right. Just have the confidence in the players, keep them ticking over. Because the way it is again in Wexford, you'd have probably 2 rounds of hurling one week after another, and then 2 rounds of football, or vice versa. So it's kind of rest in between and ready to go the weekend. Do you want to move on, please, Dara? Dara? Yeah. Okay. So then just break it down. There's nothing, you're not going into the real detail here. Just the way I had January was Tuesday nights was down to physical and strength and conditioning. Again, trying to work with the ball, but just really working physical, just trying to get the fitness up, because after the long winter, like Friday then I had kind of physical invasion, and here I'd be working on really kind of all the kind of the hard physical parts of the game, winning 50-50 ball and winning ruck ball, and how to even go into win a ruck ball, and because it's hard then, and it really turns into a physical session, and it also it's a good, believe it or not, it's a great team building exercise when lads are actually going in like that with one another. And most times when a team is doing that together, they're not going in to hurt one another, they're going in hard, fair, and it just builds rapport. So that's what the Friday night. Sunday then was local runs, and I'm a big believer with whatever team you're with that they get to know where they're playing from. So you bring them for runs around their parishes and stuff, and you know, I know people say a lot of that has gone in the GAA, but not really. It's still there. You know, if you're running by the school that the lad went to primary school in, it does hit a little bit of a note and hit a little nerve there to let them know, like, this is what you're representing thing. So that's all about, I said, building rapport with the group. That's what I'm doing there. Coming into February then, it says my own favourite time. It was all a skill, speed, right through, all the way. Sundays then it was a game, starting to introduce the type of game that I'm looking to play, like, or whatever style that we're actually looking to play with that group. Moving on to March then, I left Tuesday nights there for mixed. And this is just for me there, again, as I say, evaluate yourself as you're going along. Is it going the way I think I'm going? Are we hitting those goals? And if I don't think the fitness is there, we still have to do a little bit of work on that. If I don't think the speed is there, we have to do a work on that. And maybe it's a complete mixture on that now. Friday then is all about game based. It's pure games. It's in whatever way we're working on the style of game we're looking to do. You try to drive it home there on the Friday nights. And then Sunday, then you're into your leagues and your practice matches. So you get to see, right, well, is it working or is it not working type thing, or what do we need to work on? Then into championship, and as I said, the championship, if you're not prepared, well, then it's kind of too late. Like what I'd have here is the game, say the week before the first round of the championship, we're just going to go over, prepare there. It's just going over the game plan, who's doing what, nothing really having that they want to get out and actually eat the ball. They want to be starving leaving your training session there, really. Friday night then, routine session, basically having everyone relaxed, ready to go for the weekend. Championship then the weekend, and that's when I have reflect on the following. You have a recovery session probably on the Sunday. I don't have that in there, or whatever day is available for you to do it. Tuesday, reflect on what we're after doing. Did it work? What can we improve on? And then that's the plan I'd have coming up to your first 4 months. Sounds like an awful lot, but again, as James said, if it's all planned out, it works out easier than, you know, once it's planned.
Great stuff.
Right, James?
Yeah, I can move you on there again, Darren. Okay, just a quick discussion now, and we won't keep you too long with this one. I'll just ask you a question, guys. Again, into the chat box now. After seeing those season plans and whatnot, what will your focus as coach be with your age group when you return to the field? So we have about maybe 12, 14 weeks, whatever it's going to be. What will your focus be when you get back to the pitch? So we maybe ask Lloyd, or we're waiting on a few to come in there. Like, what will your focus now when you're back in the schools and the clubs? What will your focus be?
I think, and we discussed it at the very beginning, James. The most important thing from our perspective is to make sure that our sessions are fun and enjoyable. You know, the children have gone through a particularly difficult time over the last few months, been segregated from their friends and not been able to get out and play in the normal way. So we have to ensure when they come back to the field, they have a really good experience. They enjoy it. The environment is friendly, and they have good experience that'll make them want to come back to the field again and again each week, and they associate the GAA with a really enjoyable time.
Good stuff, yeah. Some great stuff there. Niall broke it down completely. Under nines, 2 core skills, striking the hand and lifts, associate skills, striking on the run, left and right. It's fantastic. He's really precise, he's really focused, and that'll offer him and his team great focus to all the sessions going forward. There's one you like from RJ that I think Seamus he's on your wavelength there.
I don't know. I do a bit of football as well, James. Thanks.
No, but what we said before, Seamus, is that let them play the game when they get back to the field. You know what I mean? Kind of as much game space as possible. Yeah.
I actually circled there. I don't see. I just don't have a name. It was a development officer in Dublin there. I don't get the first name that came up, and I'd put in at the start of it there. I didn't get a chance to say it back there. He had down there, remove the fear of small levels improvement, stroke enjoyment.
Yeah.
And that to me goes right across, like the same with adults. You know, you get in, like, I mean, there's going to be a panic now when teams come back, you know, are we done enough? We haven't done enough. And if you remove that fear of failure and you put back in your pure hurling, or if you're football and pure football, whatever it is, and it's enjoyment, to come back in relaxed. And no matter what you're doing in any job and playing in particular, if you're in good form and you don't feel like you don't have a fear of failure, you usually perform better. Like, so I think that was a good one there. That was at the very start, one of the first picks we got in. I'm sorry I don't have your name. I just have a development officer for Dublin, whoever that was there.
Yeah, and Darryl, do you want to flick on with this, and we won't probably go into much detail. So even in your own minds there now, guys, now put yourself in the shoes of your player. What do you think they want? And we touched on it earlier as well. So I suppose the goal going forward, that our focus between the two to kind of have to marry and merge, and that we kind of create an environment where we get what the player expects and what we're trying to establish as well, I suppose. And that kind of wraps up that season plans. You want to move it on there quick, Darryl? We'll move on to the last section there. Okay, guys, I'll just put it up there quick. If you want to take a screenshot of it or whatever. Myself and Lloyd and Seamus said anyone who wants to engage with us, we're more than welcome to help. So if you want to put together a little plan like that, send it on to us. We'll give you back feedback, or we'll engage with you 100%. That's what we're here for. We're here to engage with club coaches, and we're more than happy to help out when we can. Okay, that'll come up again. Lloyd put his email into the text box there, and I'll put it up again at the end anyway, so we'll get it at the end. So you want to move on there quick again, Darryl, just the last section. Again, session plans won't keep you too long, about maybe 10 minutes max. So do you want to move on again there, Darryl? So we're here now into session plans, and like that's what we all have there. It's double Dutch to most. It comes from scribbles to whatnot. It's but it's guidelines, you know, and that's what it was. I think that's Seamus stuff there. I'm still trying to figure it out. I think it's Mandarin or something. Is it Seamus? Or?
Yeah, well, you know what I love about that now when I'm looking at it, I don't even know what I wrote down there. What I did at the time, like I could lose that in the opposition's dressing room and it probably confuse them. It probably started there.
Yeah.
But at the time, I knew exactly what that meant, you know.
Exactly. Well, what I do, I take an A4 page, I fold it 3 times, and have something then that maybe with a few different edges, and I can store it in my pocket, you know. It's a great way of doing it. But by having the plan, lads, it helps your enjoyment with coaching as well, and it also helps to the player enjoyment. The players won't be long finding out if you don't have a plan as such. You hear stories of, was it Donal O'Grady used to write his lesson plans when he sit down on the kitchen table eating his cornflakes. He'd tear the corner off the box and scribble down his session plan for the night there and put it in his pocket. And the Cork player, Sean O'Halpine and the boys used to get great fun out of this and see Donal O'Grady coming out with half a cornflakes box reading his plan. But I suppose moving on there, Darragh, maybe, and we'll get you working again one more time for the last time for the night, okay? So we actually do it early on in the session, and we'll just ask you again now, just scribble down your next training session, how it's going to look on paper, okay? All right, and in the meantime, Seamus, maybe you have a good question there, or a good sample of planning in practice, I suppose.
Yeah, and probably what I'm going to say is going to nearly throw everything that we said tonight out the window, but just this does happen. Sometimes you can have your plan done out. You know exactly what you're going to do on the Tuesday night. You're looking at the session and you're saying, yeah, there's a great session. And in that session, you might have something you want to work on. You could be introducing a new drill because there's some part of the game that the lads are not good at. So you're saying, right, I want to get this across now, and I'm going to build it up as weeks go on. You bring it over to the field, and next minute you start the session. You've done your warm-up or whatever you're in now, and you got this drill, and you have it worked out. The lads are doing it. And the next minute, it's flying. It's going really, really well. And you're saying to yourself, I can actually move this on to the next level. I wasn't going to do it till next week, but you know something, these lads this is flying. My plan has gone out the door, but it's gone out the door because of the atmosphere that's in the session. The lads are flying it. They're loving it. They're getting on great. And I think sometimes you just have to use that energy. You know, if that's there, imagine stopping it and now going doing something else. You're probably going to lose the crowd type thing. So for me, sometimes your plan, it doesn't mean it's set in concrete, lads. That's there for you to get your session through, to work on it, you're ready to come home and take and say, yeah, we've got that covered. But sometimes when you're going with something, in particular, it has worked for me, with something and going in when it's new and it's flying it. And you're saying, no, this is exactly, I couldn't ask for better here, so I'm going to keep it going. So that your session can change. There's nothing wrong with changing your session. Like, it's not set in concrete.
Yeah. Very good. I'm just conscious of time now, so we might move on there, Dara. I'm sorry, Lloyd, I was going to bring you in there, but we'll get you in the next time.
Yeah, okay.
Just talk you through when you're still writing down your own examples. Just here's a couple of examples I came across on my phone, okay, when I was putting the presentation together. The one on the left is one I put together for a model load session, and the one on the right is from Eamon Fitzmaurice in the lead up to the All-Ireland final a couple of years ago. I suppose, like, first of all, what strikes me are kind of probably the similarities, you know, kind of, and like one is thrown together maybe in 5 minutes and one is done quite professionally and whatnot. But the key components are still there. Your structure, your warm up, your speed work, your small sided games, a couple of skill drills and whatnot. But what I'm drawn straight to is along the left side of mine there, along the right side of Eamon's one there, it's broken down. Everyone knows exactly what they're doing. And then on the opposite side, how long it's going to last for. So the warm up 15 minutes, speed work 6 minutes, this, that, and the other. Okay, so it's very much there in black and white. And Seamus, you want to maybe remember actually that session there? I didn't know Seamus at the time. He was actually.
Yeah, my own young fella was on that. Yeah, my own young fella was on that day, and he went over there and. I was sitting in the car park there looking at the session. The first thing the field was alive. That's the first thing. The whole field's being used. There was lads everywhere. And all I can remember is the expression from himself when he got into the car, shut the car, the sweat was dropping off him, a smile on his face, and he just turned to me and said, well, that was excellent, you know. And I knew by him, and I could see it. It was. And I was looking at more of what was the components the lads were working on, and everything was off the right and the left. There was no side left out. There was striking, there was a game in it, there was targets, there was a bit of physical in it, there was kind of like an obstacle course in it, there was fun, there was everything in the session, and it's all down there on the side. And the beauty about it was, I'd be telling them here at home, he needed to work on his left at the time. Your left, you know, you'd be better at your left, you know, you're not. But you know, I'm the daddy at the end of the day, and they don't always listen to their daddies, as everybody knows, if you have any. So he goes over to this, and by the drills alone and being organised, he's seen it himself. The minute he was home, he was out the back striking the ball off his left, and that was very good. Just as I say, the first thing I seen, the field was alive, and then you had one fella come home and he wanted to improve on it. He couldn't wait to go back to do the session.
Very good, Seamus. And I suppose the big stress there, like a good planned session leads to a great session for the players. You know what I mean? Kind of, and it does. You get found out very quick when you arrive down with nothing prepared, and it takes them the whole session, and it's hugely important. If you get 5 minutes at lunchtime, it's great. Sit down, give a bit of time to it, and get something on paper, because it just gives you that bit of focus. And even if you lose your way, you're able to come back to that bit of paper in your pocket. Just to the text box there now before we move on. Regards to fixtures, I'll talk at the end there. The secretary and ask more what the current situation is there. I got an update yesterday where the G-Day coach planner, very good for planning sessions, excellent. Would you share the stand? I as a player perspective, I like to know kind of what we're going to do. So if you pull them into the start, Michael, and say, right lads, we're going to start with a drill here, we're going to play a game over here, and we're going to finish. And they kind of, yeah, and what adds to that then kind of, if it's variety, it's not the same thing each day. There's nothing more demoralising as a player if the player, you know exactly what's going to happen each night. So if you have variety there, bring them in, let them know exactly where they're going, and then it gives them a bit of focus as well. Just the last section there then, Darren, if you want to move on to the next bit. So we all have our own session plans there now. So we're going to have one last test. So we have a checklist here. All these components help make up a good session plan. So what I want you to do is every time you have one of these components on the plan in front of you, give yourself a correct or a point, okay? So from that, at the end then, we'll have a score out of 10, okay? So first of all, is your session wrote down with a clear focus? Give yourself a point. Have you included a warm-up? Give yourself a point. Is there some fundamental movement or athletic development component in your session? Give yourself a point. Does it include a skill development component? Give yourself another point. Does your session include a challenge or progressions to skills or activities? Give yourself a point. Is it focusing on more on the player's development rather than easy for the coach? Is there an element of games based where possible? Are all players involved all the time? Is there a match, a game in it? And have you planned an element of fun into your session? Okay, so tot up your scores there and let's see some scores in the box. How do we get on, lads? How do we get on out of 10 on the session you just developed there a few minutes ago?
James on that one there, all the players involved all the time. It was up on Twitter there. A coach put it up, and he's with an under-7s team, and he was saying about he's trying to line them up, and he had too long of a line kind of thing. I think he was trying to get 7 of them in a straight line. He couldn't get him in a straight line, and he had 3 cones out, and he said so. He decided to concentrate on the young lad in the front. He said, "I want you to go up and touch the white cone. Then I want you to go and jump out over the blue cone, and I want you to go around the white cone and come back as fast as you can." And the little lad turned around and said to him, "I'm getting pancakes when I go home." So,
very good.
Really,
very good.
truly, he should have forgot about the 7 in a row and he just let him go run around after cones or something. Yeah.
So look, guys, we're getting some great scores in there, 6, 7, 8, 9s, okay, and they're all really good, And what I'm trying to emphasize here that we're doing a good job at the minute, okay. Things like this, you might get a couple of ideas from. Okay, I do recommend taking a picture of that screen there again because that's a great thing to have on the phone. So if you are planning the session, try and include much components as you can. It does help with that. So I think that nearly brings us to the end. If you want to move on there, Dara, we'll sum it up there. So guys, that's what we looked at today. We looked at the evaluation process and how we can go about it, okay? We looked at how to evaluate a coach, how to evaluate a player, but you can use that to absolutely evaluate anything at all. Come up with 6 components, use whatever grading system you want, and work away on it. We looked at player development plans then of how we can improve players and touched on season plans and session plans. So I suppose the next thing then is anyone has anything to add or question or query or debate, I suppose. The mic is open there now. Type your name in or put your hand up and we'll get to you.
RJ Blake's hand is quite tired. Is up all night. RJ, you forgot to press the button again to put your hand down.
Reminds me of you on our meeting, Seamus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin has a question there. You want to come in, Kevin?
Ignored as much. Thanks. Where is it? Yeah, all right, RJ.
Does Kevin have a question there, or is that up from earlier?
I think Kevin had the hand up there earlier as well, yeah.
Yeah. So guys, as you said, we didn't forecast a whole lot of questions anyway because we had plenty of discussion through it and whatnot. So just to get back to the I know the lads from Ask More are asking there about the fixtures. The latest on it is that the Cushja have proposed a format up to the adult committee, and that'll be reviewed on tonight or tomorrow night, and come back and we'll go from there. It's there are things being in the process similar to the adults. We have an 11-week window fitted in, and they're doing their best to get as many games as possible. It's looking like I don't want to speculate on it because it's changed 3 times really in the last week. So they're going to try their best to get as much of the game program as on as possible. That's all I can say on it. Okay. Other than that, guys, I thank you for your attendance. Especially thank you to Seamus and Lloyd there for giving me a dig out here tonight. Great wealth of knowledge there between the two of them, and they really helped the webinar along the way. So thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you all in the next cartoon. Thank you.